I'm not familiar with it. I'm just not familiar. There's some communities that do one that are 18, 5, 10 acres, 15 acres. It's like a joke. And they said people who buy a house can come and they can plant a row or something. But other than that, I know.
Once you got found by control, all the no, I mean, yeah, that's what's taking long to start. Confirmation of the title efficiency signed documents. Yeah. Before they mark it.
Well, like I told you, don't try to do the title 45 the first time.
What do you need?
You're not smart enough to do it all. Get yourself a good partner that you can trust and actual business that you can learn from and work on the project.
Do you have a PC in your house?
You know, every day.
What are you going to do with that?
You'll get it works. You'll develop confidence in yourself and knowledge that you'll be able then to know how to go out and do your own what you want to do. You have to practice this business for a couple of years. Really, it's a lot.
There we go. Call for Tyler. Right. We got the access got delivered. Great. Online class.
Central Florida, Northern Florida. Things here are very, very expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Things are way more reasonable. North Carolina's great. South Carolina's okay. Texas is wide open. Mexico is all day California's crazy. Oregon, Washington, here are a lot of forms. That's the big one. Your years are wasted. Okay, I got it. Okay, I did. Yeah.
We also have
Sure. I'm gonna get out of here.
Have lunch here at noon. So basically 30 minutes.
Do I have to go buy it?
No. We've got sandwiches coming in.
Oh, okay, sure. I'll have one. You go find
Hang out, like we kind of get all this other stuff.
So,
Yeah.
That's right, I read that. Don't put too much into it that you then have to charge rents they can't afford.
My name is Carol.
That's my question. How do you know?
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good. Happy to see you.
Yeah.
Happy to see you.
Who are we still missing?
It's always the guy.
How you doing? Snowing like crazy? I'm your Linda. Yeah? Putting out money? Wow.
Before you got here, I was talking about how hard it is to get money.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I could have turned around and said, just go talk to them.
For the rest of our folks, they still.
Oh, I give you a spot. Yeah, around business. I'm in two expert witness litigation cases. It's fun. It's okay. People double their money.
Are they here or?
I haven't done much better. Done a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of telephone conference calls in Wall Street. That's back. I did a lot of it years ago. At least they're talking to us. People get very disillusioned with sitting up close. This is
All right, let's go ahead and get started. We've got a handful of kind of administrative things we need to kind of clear up and take care of before we continue on with the rest of the day. Most everybody ended up, I think, showing up. We're still missing, I guess, a couple of folks. Looks like Kristen Nacero, Victor, and Olivia Roberts, and Christian Morrillis. So those 4 folks did not show up yet. We hopefully maybe they'll be here a little bit later this afternoon. One of the things that we need to sort of, I guess, discuss a little bit, I sent out an email over the past couple of weeks talking about specifically the creation of your e-portfolios, okay? So part of what you're being asked to do in this class is to go ahead and create an e-portfolio from scratch. And this is, in essence, a digital resume, all right? Now, what I'm wanting you to do is to basically create this portfolio where you're going to have it broken out, it's like class by class, where you will be adding into it effectively all of your PowerPoint presentations, all of your group projects, all of your papers, exams, whatever else that you want to put into each of those individual courses, so that at the end of the program you will have basically this full collection of documents that anyone can access, whether it's a potential employer, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a potential student that's interested in the program and you want to maybe be able to show them what you did while you were in the program. Or we can even use it as a marketing tool for prospective students. And this is something that's obviously begun to emerge across the country in a lot of different schools. One of the best examples, at least in terms of kind of the ones that they put up for access, is Auburn University. And if you pretty much just go into Google and you type in e-portfolio and examples, it's usually one of the first ones to pop up. Well, one of the ones that if you do that, on the front page, this gentleman that did one for pharmacy, I thought was probably the format that really spoke the most to me, which had background about himself and some of the different leadership positions he had in service. But the most important piece was this best works category. And with that, what I thought was great was literally every single presentation, paper, project is all here viewable, okay, and linked, so that it's a great way to be able to kind of access that information. It's done very, I think, nicely visually to be able to kind of get that front page view of that paper and project, whatever it might be, so that someone can kind of see it. Now, you're going to be given, pretty much a lot of freedom as to how you go about creating this, what platform you use. What you will notice if you look at a lot of these, if you look at the actual web address, most of them are using Wix, W-I-X, okay? And it seems to be one of the best platforms out there. I gave you a listing of several different ones that are available. And I don't really care what platform you use. And quite frankly, you can, actually, if you wanted to, start your own website from scratch, that's great too. Okay, I have no problems, with that at all. content-wise, what I'm trying to achieve is for you to be able to use this as a repository for the work that you're creating as you go through the program, and you creating it in such a way that it's going to be visually appealing and interesting, but also have the content there for those future employers or partners or whoever it is that's going to be interested in this. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Now, you know, as I said, how you organize it, I'm going to pretty much leave it up to you, but what I'm thinking is that, you know, if you sort of do it course by course and sort of say, okay, here's the real estate finance course, here are the different things I did in that course. You know, you may even start out with a summary of, you know, here is what I got out of the real estate finance course or the real estate development course or whatever course it is that you've taken. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, with that short introduction, questions? Yep.
Is it feasible to do it on a site like through Google, like Google?
I don't care, as long as the information is there.
I know they have Blogger, and then you can contact.
Blogger's not the same though. Blogger is like a set of pages, and it's not necessarily hyperlinked where you can easily go necessarily from one to another. At least that's been my experience.
Obviously, with that platform, you can make it more interactive with videos.
And I think, with, I mean, I'm not 100% certain, but with Wix, I believe you can as well. Okay. And I would encourage that. And that would be another thing to include is that you could, quite frankly, you know, take the snippets from your presentation and pop them up there. That'd be a great idea. Okay.
It's on YouTube.
It's on the YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and we can, you know, you can obviously steal the video and ultimately, you know, shorten it down to the piece that's yours. And if you can't, for whatever reason, do that off of YouTube, I've got the raw footage that I can, you know, make available.
Another ask that question. If you work on like a group project, for example, you put that entire report on there, or do you want
I
to
would.
cite the?
No, I mean, but I would also say that this was a group report done by my, you know, peers and myself. But I think, you know, now if you only want to include your piece of it, that's fine too. I'm trying to make it as flexible as I can. The idea, I mean, fundamentally to me, the idea is whenever someone that you're talking to asks you, what did you do in this degree program? That you've got now something you can easily point them to and say, here's the different things that I did. You know, I created these Argus, you know, models, I created these Excel models, I created, you know, this particular market research report, this feasibility report, you know, so forth, so on. And all of that information is there, so instead of having to hand them, you know, a big stack of paper, you're able to sort of point them to something like this, and then they, you know, what I don't want it to be is just, you know, once again, your name with the course number, and then just like a drudge report almost look to it, you know, where it's just a single line that doesn't really convey what I would like to be as visual as possible, is what I'm saying.
So you like say if there's a tab that said projects and then, or like classes, and then have different sections for each class?
That would be the way that I would probably tend to organize it, but I am not going to say with absolute certainty that you have to do it that way. I'm saying that's the way I would tend to sort of approach it. Just to me, that's how I think very logically of saying, you know, to someone, well, what did you do in your real estate finance class? Mm-hmm. Then it's all there.
Yeah.
Is this something used commonly by employees and employers to?
It's becoming much more popular, and part of my motivation for this is there's a university-wide initiative now to focus on writing skills. Okay, and so part of my thought process is this is also going to be able to showcase your ability to put together something in a cohesive fashion. Also do some original writing in the form of basically these summaries of guest speakers and things like that you're going to be posting to the site, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. But the idea is, you know, it's really meant to be, you know, a showcase of your work. You know, architects have been doing this for years. Yeah, like, you know, in terms of digital, not digital, but you know, in terms of actual physical portfolios. What we're, you know, now we finally, you know, are to that point, I think, you know, technologically speaking, that we can create something like this relative ease.
Do you reference it on your resume perhaps?
Well, this is your resume. This is what I'm saying. This is, now if you want to include a traditional resume embedded within this, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But this is really, meant to showcase your work while you're through the program. Now, the one thing I want to sort of point out, or at least in my mind, I would encourage you not to do, is I would not put information, like for example, I wouldn't put your phone number anywhere on this. I wouldn't put your home address or mailing address unless it's a P.O. box. The only form of contact I would put would be probably your email address, and more than likely your NOVA email address. Okay. Now that's just my suggestion, and the only reason I say that is I don't want to get into a situation where somebody comes up to me and, well, I'm being cyber stalked by somebody because they looked at my digital portfolio and now all of a sudden whatever. So my perspective is keep it all very professional. Don't put anything in there that you would not want anyone on the face of the planet to see, because the idea is that what I want to do is that once you have started compiling this, is I want to create then a home page that literally has every single one of your digital portfolios there associated with the program, and we would do that literally like year by year, so that obviously we can use that, as I said, not only as a marketing tool, but also a way to be able to demonstrate to folks, here's what this program is doing, here's what it's accomplishing, and here's what these people kind of have to say about it to a certain extent. Because each of you are going to have different experiences.
Have you seen people use their own website entirely?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at some of these, that's exactly what they've done. Okay. Yeah, it is a website. But I mean, in terms of it, you could have your own in the sense of your own domain name, in addition to having it like on Wix.
These platforms, are they just viewers, or can they actually go on there and download your file?
That, well, they can view, I don't know whether they can download or not, I don't. I mean, at least like in full.
I already made one of these, and I linked my resume, it says click here for my resume, and you open it, a PDF opens up.
Yeah,
and
you
if
can
they want to
download
save, they want to save that
security
PDF.
controls on it, you can control what.
But even so, I mean, once again, once it's out there in that sense, I mean, you pretty much have to assume that anyone can print it off, use it, whatever. So that's why I'm saying, don't put anything out there that you would not want literally anyone on the face of the planet to see. Okay. All right. Other questions?
You publish it whenever you're ready. It's not like you just publish that when it's done.
I guess more my concern is, you work so hard to do these presentation reports, you put it out there and someone takes it.
Well, I mean that.
Well, they're on YouTube.
If someone takes your paper that you already have online by you, if they have to put it on what's that thing where you check your purpose? Yeah, I'll turn it in or whatever. They're gonna get penalized because your paper will come up.
Okay. Any other questions about this? Okay. So, what you, at this moment in time, what you should, be doing is going ahead and creating, and I would suggest that you experiment with several of the different platforms. Just out of curiosity, I know some of you have already started. So those of you that have already kind of started, what are you doing? What have you used?
The platform is so easy
Yes,
to
it works better on Chrome too, just FYI. If you're using a Mac, it works better on Chrome.
I don't think it works on the new Internet Explorer, either the Explorer 11 or whatever it is.
Yeah, this is not
Yeah, you have to use Chrome.
She was like,
Yeah, it's so much easier.
Okay.
And Chrome is just better.
That's good to know. Okay. Any other sort of testimonials or? Okay. Everybody good? Okay. Cool. All right. Moving forward, mentors. Now, several of you have selected mentors, and I have made tentative assignments of those mentors for the program. I will read those off, and those of you, I mean, this was an email that I sent out probably at least a month ago, and if you did not respond, well, then you obviously
It goes to your junk mail.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta check it out.
okay.
I made a folder.
It looks like, okay, Alex, Tricia Wareheim. You're gonna be your mentor. Emmanuel,
Yeah.
Mark Peterson. Okay, Chad, Kona Gray. Tula, who's not here, she's obviously in the other class, let's talk to her. Okay, Quincy, Perry.
Perry?
Yep.
This is the one you ever saw.
Well,
This is the one you ever saw.
this is what you selected.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Like
saying.
the top 3 or something?
Yeah, your top one was Terry Styles, your second one was Craig Perry.
Oh.
Okay, Rebecca, Jessica Jolly, and Stephen Gosh, Terry Styles,
Steve, you got my medicine, huh?
and, okay, Gretner's
So
not
everybody
here.
knows
And Claudius, we're gonna have to talk.
Coming to my house, I
Where'd
guess.
Claudius go? Okay, we're gonna talk. All right, and then Kyle, looks like, no, actually, Kyle and I are gonna have to talk about this as well. And the other folks aren't here. Now, if you did not get a mentor and you want a mentor, then you need to send me an email, okay? Now, obviously, there's several that have already been taken, so given that that's the case, we'll have to try to work through and see what your second and third choices might be in terms of the members of the advisory board, okay? Yep.
When do we send the email?
Tentatively, I've got you with Glenn.
Okay.
I sent you an email also, if anyone is. JP?
You were not on the list.
Carol?
I did not get an email from you. Okay.
What is the time frame on the mentorship?
Yeah, what
The
are we doing with
mentorship starts now, okay? For those of you that have successfully completed with a 3.0 GPA or higher of the first 2 classes this term, okay, then you are eligible for a mentor. Okay?
If someone is ending their mentorship, they've been in it about a year,
Right.
can you assume that there might be a slot open?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I sent 3 names, so what's the issue? And when
We'll talk about it, folks. Okay? We'll talk about it.
Can you send them emails with anything?
Okay.
Do they like reach out to us or go ahead?
No, that was what I was about to get into. So at this point, what will happen is I will send an email basically to you and your mentor, and basically saying you two have been paired as mentor-mentee, and the next step then is yours to effectively contact that mentor, set up your first meeting, and ultimately get
Is
to
there
work.
like, do we have to like fulfill a certain amount of time? Like,
No, this is all up to you.
so it's like for our benefit?
Here's the way they're supposed to work. They're supposed to work that you're going to get together with this person and you are going to sort of talk to them about your career, about where you want to be, what you want to do, and get their advice, and you're going to do that over a series of meetings over the course of the year. And ideally, they're going to help maybe put you in touch with people that can be of use to you based upon what your interests are. But ideally, you're probably going to meet with them or certainly have a phone call or conversation with them, once or twice a month, okay? Now, some folks do not take advantage of this in the way that they should. Some folks, they never even make the first contact. I mean, I had a couple of folks this past year that never, ever contacted their mentor, never, ever started any sort of a dialogue with them, wasted, okay? Other folks, complete opposite. I mean, they were probably meeting and talking with that mentor at least 1 or 2 times a week, okay? So, it's totally up to you as to how far, you and your mentor sort of, take that, sort of situation and work with it.
How willing are they to open up their schedules?
They have all volunteered to do it. And that's part of the commitment that they've made to the program is to, open up their schedules and, work with you as much as possible. Okay? I mean, they've already signed on to this. So it's not a situation of where, it's the other way around, that you're kind of clawing at them trying to get their time and attention. It's quite the opposite. They're wanting to do this. okay?
Has anyone successfully gone outside the list? Like,
Sure.
Like
I mean,
President Swire.
and I have no issues whatsoever with you guys. If you find someone that you can, you know, work with, keep in mind, the whole purpose of the mentorship is to get you connected with someone that's already in the industry, connected in the industry, that can hopefully open up some doors and insights to you professionally so that you can hopefully accelerate your career path. That's the whole idea behind it. It's not just so that you can go and, you know, have lunch with this person just to have lunch with them. You know, the idea is to hopefully, you know, carry that forward in a meaningful, professional way.
If they're in the real estate industry, chances are they've been approached before, or they'll probably be receptive to.
I would argue that most people are going to be receptive. Most developers, especially, love to talk about their projects and their careers and that sort of thing. Okay. And love to share with people that are just getting into the industry. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, observations on that? Okay. So once again, if you haven't selected mentors, please do so and send me an email requesting one, and we'll move forward with that. Okay. The next thing, real briefly. Now, there are a number of you that have already signed up, at least, and indicated your interest about the study tour that is in December, the cruise. And a couple of you, have already reserved rooms, and then others of you I have put off only because I wanted to get confirmation of who basically is going to be rooming with who, and so that we can get those details kind of nailed down. So at present, here are the folks that I have going on the study tour. Claudius, Emmanuel, Dinah and Frederick Griffin, who are not here. Stephen Gosh, Chad Maxey, Marianella, Olivia Roberts, Carol, Paul, Kyle, and Jeff. Who else in here is planning on going on the study tour cruise? Anybody else?
I'll go on Tuesday. I just got Styles just picked me up, so I got to talk to him, see if I can take off the time. But I'm on Tuesday.
I'm kind of the same. I got a schedule.
Okay, when are you going to know?
I can this week sometime.
Okay, all right. Because we've got to get this nailed down, because we've got to get the reservations done, we've got to get the room assignments done, and I've got to also then begin to schedule transportation in each of these countries and all that sort of stuff. So I need to have an accurate number as soon as possible. Okay.
I sleep anywhere. I slept in Denver.
Well, that's not the issue. We've got to make.
Can't sleep in the ocean.
Let me be really clear about this. The ship requires that we have all the reservations completed. So there's no business of just hopping on the ship at the last second. No, I'm very serious about this. Once we make the reservation, we pay for it. It is non-refundable. You gotta go. Okay, if you commit to going, you gotta go. All right, we make that very clear. All right. Okay. All right. So here's what I want to do. Then we've still got about 10 more minutes before lunch, and then during lunch, I'm going to ask Alex to come up and talk a little bit about the Student Association. We got the Student Association officially approved a couple of weeks ago. They are going to give us money, obviously, probably what I have been told for the remainder of the semester, so from now until December, we will probably get anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 that we can spend. We've got to figure out how we want to spend it, okay? Next year, more than likely from what I'm told, on an annual basis, we can expect potentially up to 10 grand a year, okay? So you can begin to kind of think about that, but our immediate concern is how do we spend the money that is going to be allocated just because we either spend it or you lose it semester by semester. So we've got to figure out how we want to spend potentially up to $3,000, and so Alex can kind of take over that discussion, and you guys can maybe come up with some ideas as to what you might want to be able to. And now, there are certain things that the money can be spent on, other things that it can't, and as you come up with ideas, I'll try to guide you in that direction. Okay, getting back to the room assignments before we break for lunch. What I would like to do is have each of the people that are going on the cruise to stand up go back in that corner of the room, okay? And the rest of you can leave, okay? And we will bring in lunch here in about 10 minutes, okay?
What about a limbo guy?
If you're in limbo, you need to stay.
Who has a room?
Get out of here.
No child wants me around.
Not a cuddler.
I already asked.
No.
No, that's birthday, I guess we would. No, because it's the way it's
I don't know.
I'm trying to sneak into your cruise.
Now Claudius has got his own room. That's always an option.
Okay, so with the single room option, I'm glad you brought that up. If you want a room by yourself, you have to pay for the other vacant spot, which is roughly $500 and something, okay? All inclusive, all right? So that's if you want a single room by yourself, then you can opt for that, but you gotta pay for it, okay? We're only paying obviously for one half. Now, so what I would like for you guys to do is to potentially now try to figure out who you might want to pair up with, so that I can kind of get an idea, because what I need to do then next week is then we're gonna start getting you registered, okay, in terms on the cruise itself. So try to see if you guys can kind of figure that out amongst yourselves.
Do you need a passport for this or no?
Yes, you do need a passport.
Oh, there's some form too. If you're leaving the country, you need to fill a form out.
Yeah, that's not a
All right,
Yeah.
so I need to get a passport.
You don't have
Okay, so you guys, since you're already taking care of, you can go and come back, and I'll talk to you.
So even though it's coming, we have to pay his
I just wanted to set up
4 days.
It was the worst time of my life. I was looking at we were fishing. That's on a small boat.
Even though we would have if I wouldn't have nobody, we would have like.
Okay, so Paul and Kyle.
My passport's currently filling around the
Okay,
hand water.
anybody else settled? Roommates? Okay, so Alex and Chad?
Details on me, I'll have
I'll pay for
I'll tell Steve.
Terry's the
Okay, anybody else? Okay, you guys good? Okay, so Jeff and Steve?
I want you to learn.
I am learning.
Okay. All right, and then, okay, you're, so, you're, okay, you're gonna get a room by yourself? Okay, all right, so,
See, that's right here, man. We're all on the same page.
Between the, I guess, the
everything
party
well,
and the other things
we're gonna have
So they're doing a walk and forth there downtown Miami. Everyone's following us, man.
Do you know if Olivia is bringing anybody or not?
She's supposed to
Well,
die.
it was
Supposed to. She's supposed to be in this class.
Because if she's not,
I gotta
I'll
speak
get her
about
room
the student
box.
association.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Dude, we should get everybody to go to the ICSC conference in Las Vegas. You can pay for at least one ticket.
So that's,
And then
so,
meet.
Oh, no, the guy working with Styles, Mike Carpenter, he went to it.
Oh, dude,
it's
I'm telling you, man, I'm like, I was like,
Where's next year's conference, by the way? Has anyone announced it, or?
I'm sure they'll probably.
Probably on this side of it.
I don't know.
Jacksonville.
I have to go to this thing.
They do have a lot of
I have to
rooms.
go. I'm sure Styles
Are
paid
you
for it.
retail?
Always been retail.
Yeah.
I do the same thing I was doing for my internship, but they're cutting
It's
out
like you're
all.
doing public stuff.
Yeah, but they're cutting out all the data entry stuff. They're giving it to somebody else.
You got a deal with Styles now?
Yeah, and I finally got my REE hired. Yeah, basically they brought me back on board to work part time now. Well, no, this is just they have an internship to do every summer in the realty department. But then I guess I did really good work for them, so they brought me back on
What day
board
did you
to
start
part-time work for the retail department, and then I'm sure I'll negotiate a full-time offer when I'm on graduation.
They're very, very hesitant to hiring anybody, like, before you graduate. They want you to be in school, they don't want you to.
Yeah, no, so basically what we kind of talked about is that, like, we're gonna review on, for January, we're gonna review for budget reasons, and then I'll get a more definite answer.
That's good.
But yeah, it took like a month to get this through.
Who's your man?
She works for, She's actually in
Patricia.
Yeah, she works for.
Do you know Kona?
No, I was thinking about Kona, because I'm landscaping.
She works for Red Steel Properties.
Yeah, I saw him at a
Market research.
You can help me out.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, how can I use my
smart
to
research.
approach these developers?
All summer I got my foot in the brown.
Like fees.
Call me out of the blue. Come back in.
Get in with the developer and see like, hey, I'll join you.
Yeah, I
Right,
actually,
but I've
actually
come
really good
across,
friends
like,
with
I
Jeff.
wanna
He's
do
the
your
president of the
land
family. I really want to do that. Yeah, happy hour.
I know he's gonna hire you, ESA.
He's actually vice president.
That was my question, like,
President.
there's a guy sometimes between
I guess they have like a
the ownership side and the landscape architect.
I'm never there's a disconnect.
You gotta be.
Owners want me to drive home to
Right, but I mean, how do you get to that? Enough
Yeah,
experience.
instead of
That's
not
what I'm
going here.
saying.
Like, 'cause I walked around,
Could be a middleman, but-
we were looking at acquiring
He
property.
goes, oh, I'm just getting my new office. He has a nice
We're
corner.
talking about
City
basically
People want stuck over.
Right, for landscape.
But yeah, it's a local place.
No, like Schreier, as he's been operating that property.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's gonna
my
operate.
understanding is.
Yeah.
Well, you know that big animal food
Jessica,
operator.
who's development manager of the commercial.
Is he really gonna
I'll be
operate or is
working
he
with
contact
the
that?
head of retail development and then also, I mean, he's
so,
vice president of retail and then
Sometimes
head of commercial.
But who's overlooking your contract?
Justin, that was in here speaking.
You got $1 million landscape.
Either
You
No,
don't
no,
know.
if it comes down to situation.
You can believe
it's
it.
hard to know what other people have been saying.
Like the meetings that we have with some of
That's what most of
I go in there and pitch them properties that I find and put bonuses in and make them fucking hilarious.
Why the landscape.
They love the issue.
And they got EDSA drawing it.
I'm in these conversations, like, it's like,
I think
I said something and said something, it's a slap gift, you know? Yeah, it's a
you're not
fun
gonna
time.
be able to hire a middleman.
It's always good work.
Yeah, work was not the one. I look forward to
That's why you hire
it.
shit, right?
That's why I hired.
And so once you find a good guy, which you like, that does a good job.
Yeah.
I can't do the cruise job, it's like
Yeah.
all
No,
Then we're gonna talk about all the interviews you're gonna have to do.
Ben and Jessica were in this program, then they got hired.
We're
Like,
talking
girl that was in the.
probably
That's my
about
vote.
Yeah,
Vegas,
they both had
10 individual interviews.
Lottery system will mean
specific
people?
Yeah.
The tall blonde that spoke, the narrative, she was at the, well, I went to school with her sister, I took her to school with her. She was 2 years older than me. But she was at the UM school, graduate school, and she got picked back, she was done there too. So that's kind of the motto, is that you go through school and pick up that.
Yes, ma'am.
What you have left to decide if you're gonna come?
Found it as soon as I got my card out and we saw that.
So I just wanna make sure,
The perspective came.
Oh,
you must want a job.
is it let, well,
I didn't even mention it.
it'll be, when is the cruise?
Well, no, I mean, I need to party upstairs.
That's the conference.
I was talking to the keynote speaker, and when I handed him my card, he brought some of the regional
I
C
gotta
cards
make
with me.
sure
And
that you
I was like, yeah, like I have another one for some of these, but I don't work there anymore, and I don't have, I'm an intern style.
You didn't check out somebody already
as an
for you
intern.
to stay?
I said, oh, this is good, though, just got
Yeah, well, I got
information
that.
on it, but he was talking to me about buying personal property for himself.
Mentally, he's
And
pretty
owning
big.
it
Make sure that
Emotional.
that stops.
Okay.
I talked to him earlier.
Okay.
And I met the president of Squire Property.
You know, what I normally do is, I remind them and do things, let's do something before, because I'm gonna be gone this time. When I come back, we do this together, I have a 14-year-old.
This is more like,
Okay.
I need to go.
You got some connection with it, don't you?
Well, they're bringing in wherever the rest of it is. So if you're-
Oh, you got somebody you need a room with?
No, well, I just have one or two persons, that's okay.
Development control.
That's
for
for
selling. The one that got for selling.
That's not bad.
So after.
Oh, she has no control.
Are we missing some?
Yeah, they're bringing, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
Not just sell.
Yeah, so.
I don't think so, but once again, I actually did order some extra salads and sandwiches,
My dad, him
so
way back.
we'll see what
My dad
happens.
sold him his first restaurant in Miami. You heard of the Bath Club Estates, where the Bath Club on South Beach? So he actually just sold the property, but a few years ago, he was wanting to build like a really high-end, I think it was about $100 million, a condo building, small, I think it was like 15 or 20 units out on Miami Beach. So what my dad did is that he brought in down people with his idea to Sotheby's to sell. All they're doing is that it's a lot of work. You know, they get sales offices, this and that, but that's what they do. That was how it was a few years ago. But the development division is just sales. They're not in the building and constructing. They have no experience in it. I mean, Sotheby's was a tiny company.
Saw her team of sales girls
It's just, no, it's not
They
even
know
that,
square
no,
foot numbers, but they don't know ROI.
no, they don't none of that, no, I mean, and Sotheby's was very, very small, Sotheby's was a tiny company a few years ago, maybe 150 associates, they had like maybe two or three offices, if Daniel De La Vega, the president, well, his mom bought it from George Perez. George Perez used to own the franchise. He kept it for himself for a long time, that's why you haven't seen it before. And when she bought it, she wanted to kind of make it a boutique firm, so she went around and got all the top brokers from different companies, and then it kind of exploded overnight, and there wasn't even a development division. They basically had a development person that worked on the sales side, and they kind of created a whole division in there, but yeah, they aren't developing. I mean,
Just when they saw like 80,000 units coming online, they're like,
well,
let's prepare for this.
not even that. A lot of the top brokers are development friends of each other. So that's I mean, not even that. I mean, I think my dad was on the referral fee for that. Was like 20% of the entire deal, 15% for just making the introductions. Like it fell through, but you know that's the kind of motivation that brokers have to get involved in development. Just to bring it on the referral. My dad had nothing else. Just brought him in, and the deal worked. He would have gotten 15% of whatever sold, but this is kind of like that. I mean, they were already in the business of selling, and they were doing pre-sales for people. They just have a whole. They were number one.
Director of sales gets a piece of every.
Alex, is Tyler not in this class?
Like a small commission out of the whole.
He did this class already.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. The director of they're all it's all pitched differently because they'll offer.
How much?
I don't know. 5 or 6%. The directors.
Everything is included.
Drinks and everything.
Well, no, non-alcoholic drinks.
So like if we, like let's say we get done one night at like 5 or 6 and we're just not doing anything, if we were to do that, would you just get your started?
What do you mean, like the alcohol beverages?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What you'll do is you'll actually have a credit card that you'll assign to your.
Well, I'm more than willing to try.
Who thinks it's a good idea for us
Hey, go ahead and grab your sandwiches.
When that year starts.
Claro, como te digo, como mañana podemos ir, yo tengo
I don't think she's in your class.
Oh, that's what it is.
No. She might have left.
Okay, I think there's an extra here.
Did she leave?
Yeah, she did.
I gotta ask you.
She wanted to say goodbye, but you were.
Oh.
But thank you so much. I always learn so much. Thank you.
Were there extras?
Yeah, I put a couple of extras, so just grab one of those.
Yeah, I
have no idea.
And I never paid you.
Yeah, no, I wanted to basically like.
Oh, these are all.
They will stay.
This is the neutral.
Yeah, exactly.
When is I didn't want to when is my mentorship?
Well, it's kind of, you're sort of midway through, but I mean, need a couple of extra mentors.
They do.
So I have to do mentoring.
Still. It's pretty funny. I know. This is thing called Uber now. Hell, if I was in school, I'd pay for a driver.
But I think he's doing well. I mean, it's great. I'm not. I mean, I would love to, but I'm not that so. Yeah, but like Styles is controlling.
Have you?
It's those family. Yeah, it is.
They're all empty. What were you
Oh,
looking
yeah, I
for?
mean,
Mayo mustard.
Oh, yeah.
Packets in there.
Yep, and let's see, yep.
Alright, I'm gonna play golf with him. I'm gonna look at I call him in the morning, so I go fishing, he goes run fishing, so I have his number and stuff, and we're in the same golf pool for the majors. There's one that I think a few of the firms in there, so we're all together like that. But he's taking over the company next year.
There was a few of us that got married. There's like three couples.
Website. Like I've only went on.
Yeah, plus like I think Ryan's been there for like 10. Justin just got picked up without me speaking to me like a few, like 18 months ago. But a lot of people that get hired there stay there. But then when I was there, people got fired like after the right too. Like I had a meeting with the guy in the morning, and then I went the next day. I said, "That's in 12 hours." I went there. I'm like, "Rob, where's so and so?" "Oh, he's gone." I go, "What do you mean?" He has reports from me and stuff. It was, but he's on the investment committee, and it was kind of like he's up top. But he actually gave me it was like a pro forma for a public. So I don't know why he did it. I have no use for it, but like he gave me his. I wanted information on what's it called. Roger Village, that's where we were looking to do something there, and I guess he even they were already in there.
Are there any condiments or just sandwiches?
Do you want me to talk during lunch or before? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I guess not everyone's.
At the actual Einstein shop, right down the hallway, they have all the. So there's water in the.
No, it's okay. I got it.
In the cooler.
Do you think your schedule might permit anything next year?
I already got it. I'd love to, but I understand.
We have a common vision. I talked to one girl and she said, well, she's been with you about a year, so I thought, well, maybe if she's
Kathy? Kathy, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I remember coming in, but I just...
But if you're taking on another one,
here's what I'll do.
I do.
Where do you live?
I live in Hollywood Beach.
Yeah. Where do you work?
I work here in Nova in facilities. For facilities and physical plant. Grab a car on that.
Yeah.
Somebody been in there.
Yeah, Robert. Yeah, everybody. What you said?
There's a gas one and there's an NSC one. NSC one.
Yeah, I was going gas too.
QS? That's good? Okay. I ain't got my glasses on neither, so shoot the message.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not great.
Well, no, I just use the gas one.
No, you ordered it.
Gave me a lot of information.
To the network.
All right, guys, I'm gonna ruin your lunch for a quick minute.
Have better access. Yes, access stuff.
I'm the president of the association.
Yeah, I want to know
Yeah, I got elected too. Yeah. Hey, vote. Hey, vote. I don't even know what you're talking. Well, you don't even remember. I'm just kidding. There was.
Yeah. So we appeared. Yeah. I will contact you.
Tell me, man. It's real. Anyways, all right, guys. All right, I'm gonna ruin your lunch for a quick second.
We'll work it out.
So yeah, I'm the president of the now new Florida Student Association. Claudia's my vice president, and Paul's my treasurer. So these people are gonna see the most. I thought before you said we're gonna have some money coming into us, at least for this semester, that we're gonna have to spend quite quickly. So we're still working on ideas for that. If you guys have any ideas, please, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, whatever. But at least for the full year, the idea popped in my head that we're gonna try and provide money to you guys to attend some of these AM events and crew events for you guys, so you can have fees that come along with it. So once we get an actual budget, we're going to go through and figure out how much money we can allocate per person throughout the year, maybe 2 or 3 events per year, or per half a year, something like that. But that was kind of the first thing that I thought that we can get back to the Student Association on that end. I guess I'll send out a questionnaire this week through the email system, kind of what you guys want to get out of the Student Association. Right now, we're just newly formed, and again, we were formed just to get some of these money that the school has for us. That's really about it right now. We'll probably do most of our meetings either after class on Saturdays, or we'll do them like virtual. You know, anything voting wise, we'll just do by virtual. I know that all of us are kind of spread thin, you know, across South Florida and outside of South Florida, so I'd like to do it like that.
We're actually just having in lunch, just like we're doing today.
Yeah, or even right now, we'll do during lunch if we can. People aren't here, we'll have them virtual stuff like that. But any questions or concerns about the Student Association? Yes, Brandon.
Okay, so does you know if the money has to go into doing like tours or stuff like that, or can it go into like how we use REE before, or like LoopNet?
I
think,
that's the graduate program. This is the Student Association, so I can't, the school provide those kind of funds for REEs and other things like that. I'm sure.
Oh, so you don't think that?
I'm sure if you get go crafty with it, it's kind of tricky when we do the money. We're attending an hour seminar on the 4th, our accounting training. So once that's figured out, I'll get back to you, but I think Dr. Ford can answer that question more. You said using, like, I guess, money for REEs and other things like that, tools like CoStar, access to the money that we get.
We can.
You can? Okay, so we can. Any other questions?
Like, what if some students want to go to like an event like a ULI event, and then somebody wants to use it?
We'll see. Yeah, no. See, we'll figure out. No, we'll figure out a dollar amount because these events cost a different amount of money. Some are 55, some are 150. So we'll set a cap on per event. Once we get an idea of how much money we have, I can go down and give you more of a clarification of how much we get. Right now, so I know that we're approved, that we're getting money. I'm not sure how much. That's a good question too. I'll learn that more on the 4th. We're going in with, on the accounting we're doing on the 4th. I guess I'll learn more about that. But I guess use common sense with it. I'm sure we can hire guest speakers, stuff like that. But I can't buy you something personal stuff. Yeah, I definitely crossed my mind. I know I did it last semester before we went out to, I think it was across the street, the World Play. We had like an after semester kind of, cocktail hour. So I'm sure that's allowed from the Student Association or members of that. Again, on the 4th, I'll get some more information about that, but it's definitely crossed my mind. So we'll definitely have some sort of event to get at least counted each semester. Yeah, no, definitely that was something. Yeah, no, of course, definitely crossed my mind. Just don't know how much we're going to have, so it's kind of one of those things. Right now we're still getting information on everything. So right now, it's definitely a good thing. That definitely crossed my mind earlier. Any other questions? Yes, Fred.
Are we doing any charity events? Do holidays?
Again, I don't know. We were just approved, I think, like on Tuesday, so we're still getting everything worked up. But we'll definitely do some sort of charity work. I myself, I do testicular cancer research fundraising. I do other things like that as well. I'm also part of the Women's Cancer Association. But we'll do some sort of charity work. We'll just get around to it. We're still in the early stages of the association.
If we do like charity philanthropy work, I feel like kind of be like real estate related, like giving back to homes.
Yeah, I think Habitat for Humanity is a great one too. Yeah, definitely do that kind of stuff. Yep.
I've arranged for us to do some site tours on some interesting projects here on campus. I know it may have to be outside of class because with our schedules and
this is all outside of class.
This is all.
This is not. The graduate program is one thing. This is just a student association that's separate. Like I got emails from people that want to join that aren't in the program. But this is separate. This is separate from class time.
Okay.
So this is lunchtime. We'll find out. But everything we're going to do is going to be after class, not during class. But site tours are. You definitely have site tours and stuff like that.
It's nothing that would cost us anything, but I think it'd be a good benefit. It's close by. It's 5 minutes. Something we could do in an hour.
No, definitely. And even talking with, I'm sure that we can get a Styles, and I know Jessica offered to take me to one of her site tours. I'm sure that we can use our contacts in the community to set up tours like that, maybe on Saturday afternoons after class. Again, we're just kind of impressed because most of us live not near each other, and we're only here once a week, so it's to me a little bit different of an association. But yeah, we definitely need to do something like that. Any other questions? All right, so I'll send out some sort of.
Are there other student associations in other colleges?
Yes.
For real estate?
Yes.
No, not for real estate, no.
No. But there are, yeah.
I don't know if we could partner with anybody.
No, we're doing it ourselves in this, and we have had interest from outside students that are at Nova and not in this program that have shown some interest. So they will be allowed to join, but on an associate member status, so they can't vote anything like that. We're still going to work on that. So some of the issues we're going to have.
I was thinking about the low-hanging fruits for us to reach back into our undergraduate program like on campus. You know, to do something that's beneficial to them, reach out to them, and increase their awareness to master's program so they can feed. They both help them and feed into this program.
Oh, definitely something like that. I mean, it's going to take volunteer work from the people in the association. That's something we definitely do. Again, I'll send out, I guess, a questionnaire, asking what different ideas that you guys want from this week, and then we'll kind of work off that.
Alex, to Carol's point, what we might want to do is arrange some kind of social event.
Yes, that's what Steve and I were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Again, because of our situation, when we come to, we're all not in the same area. The only time that we're all here is usually Saturdays. Anything that we're going to probably do is going to be on a Saturday afternoon. That's what we're going to try and keep it to, because that's the best time for all of us.
And one other thing to sort of point out with that is, starting in January, the new incoming cohort in January will be an evening cohort on Tuesday, Thursday evenings from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay. So that starts in January. No, that has nothing to do with you. You are still 100% Saturday, all the way through, okay? This is just for the new cohort coming in. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a probably question. That's not for me.
What happened?
Like catering or something?
I'm not supporting on catering.
Corporate caterers.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Any more questions or concerns? Again, I'll send out an email this week, kind of recapping this, and just just a quick question what you guys want out of it. And then next week we're going to be going to a accounting meeting for the school. So once we get our budget, I will let you guys know, and then we'll go from there. We're in the early stages, and everything's going well. Besides that, yeah. All right.
Thank you. All right. A couple more quick little things. So this afternoon, the agenda, we've got a number of our alumni and a handful of other folks that are coming in. I'm going to do some short talks and also a couple of panel discussions about a variety of different topics, and I'll let them sort of introduce that once we get started with that here in a few minutes. But one of the things I want to point out, just in case you did not already hear, so once we finish this afternoon at 4:30 or roughly thereabouts, we're going to have a sponsored reception over at the flight deck here on campus that we'll just walk to after we're done. So beverages and food and all that sort of thing will be paid for. That'll be probably, like I said, once we finish at the end of the afternoon around 4:30. Okay, and that'll probably last for probably about an hour. All right. Now, the one other thing I failed to mention earlier about the e-portfolios, specifically with what you need to be kind of posting with regard to the speakers and that sort of thing. What I would do is probably focus on giving a little bit of a summary about what that person talked about, followed by your own insights as it relates to what they talked about. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah. In general, we're talking about like a paragraph or so for each speaker. Okay, does that make sense? Or 2 or 3 paragraphs for Tony. All right. A lot of information.
I want a book.
That's possible too. Per speaker. Per speaker. So for example, like the Latin American conference, probably a total of about 10 different sessions. So probably 1 per session. Okay. All right. Any other point? Now, once again, for those of you that did not do the Latin American conference and then are not going on the study tour, I will need to see you as soon as possible, sometime today, so that we can begin to put a course of action together for you to be able to make up the, effectively the time of the speakers that effectively you missed. Set up probably a number of interviews that you'll do either as a group or one-on-one with some different folks in the industry as kind of a replacement, okay?
If we're doing both, the study tour and, are you going to take that into consideration as far as the content?
You'll have a little bit of flexibility. And I'm not going to put the precise number on it right this minute, but on the whole, we'd probably say 15 or so individual sort of speakers or so. Okay. All right. So I think pretty much all of our outside guests are here, and I guess Glenn, do you want to do the introductions and that sort of thing of all the different folks that you're probably most familiar with?
Sure. I guess we're gonna kind of just go through where Alex is gonna present a case study of one of the projects him and his company is working on. After that, Matt's gonna present a case study on one of his projects, and then we'll do a panel with some basic questions on various different industry jobs you can get in the industry, and you can get a little inside look on what everyone's doing and what their day-to-day is like. So I guess, Alex, if you want to kick it off.
I guess what we can go ahead and do is then, I guess as each speaker sort of comes up, they can kind of introduce themselves and do a little bit about their background and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so with that, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. A few minutes early, but that's a good thing. So, Alex?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Sorry, I'm just trying to download Google Earth so I can give you guys some orientation points on some of the properties. It might not let me do it though. But I'm going to hit agree and download.
Yeah, the internet here is extremely slow.
All right. Anyone know anything for this?
No, you're not going to be able to. I mean, I can grab a laptop or something. Is it necessary?
Yeah, it was just to give you an orientation, because I didn't really prepare any slides or anything, but either way, it'll still work. But
Google Maps.
Google Maps, you think?
Yeah, I can Google Maps.
You got the connector? Or is that up here? Let's see if this. It's not Marlin Stadium, by the way. I just want to see how this looks. Yeah, this will work when we get to it. But, okay. My name's Alex Gulick. I went through the program. It was just after Glenn. I started in 2012. my background before that was I went to the University of Florida for entrepreneurship and finance, and then got a degree in accounting, a master's in accounting, and went and worked at Ernst & Young in Boston for 5 years. At that job, I worked on private equity clients and hedge funds, and one of the takeaways I had there in my last years there was I got to interview, we did these Entrepreneur of the Year programs, and I started interviewing different, very successful company leaders, and I found out that some of the most interesting people that I had interviewed actually owned real estate companies or owned REITs and had much more out of the box, much more interesting thought process and how they structured their companies. So I moved down to Florida in 2012, took a job with Procacci Development. It's a full-service development company, and at the same time started this program working on the weekends. Back then it was Saturday. It was Friday night and Saturday. I know that we modified the format a bit. And why I say that is, when I started the program, I started real estate, and at that time, up until that point, I knew how to finance a deal, analyze a deal, but not related to real estate. I knew how to potentially work a company, how to look at a balance sheet, how to excel a human person if you wanted to, but I never knew the in and out of a real estate transaction. So that's what I wanted to get out of this program. And you guys being current students or future students, that's a key takeaway is you find out what you want out of this program, you can get it. The professors are great with the background that they have, with the ability to share experiences with you that you can learn more than just what comes out of textbook. So that's what I learned throughout the 2 years of the program that I did, was how to translate some of my skills into applying them to real estate. And so the company I'm with now, Procacci Development, is a full-service development company. And what that means is we have an in-house general contractor, we do our own property management, we have a leasing division, we have an acquisition division, and we do provide a lot of our own capital, and then we rely on banks for the remaining financing. So it's a privately held company. Right now we have 21 operating properties, 9 investment properties that are slated for future development. We're finishing now a 240-room Hilton Hotel in Doral that some of the students are familiar with because they did a case study on the remaining 8 acres, which now we've gone to the next step. We have a number of architects lined up and a broker that's working full-time to find out which retail tenants want to be there, want to sign what they would require.
What did you guys decide to do with it?
That's what we're moving forward now. Yeah, it's gonna be retail based on what the broker actually comes back with. Okay. So it's just taking what you guys have given us at this point, and now it's saying here, go see what you can actually get on ink, on paper, and see what we can do.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. The fine print said nothing good enough. But my ultimate goal is that site actually backs up right next to our hotel, and when our hotel's completed in the next month or so, would be to set up a site tour and walk through it. And even if possible, to do one before that, so that you guys can see something. Right now, where they're going through each floor, we could walk the floor that's everything's closed up, but you can see a floor that's completely stripped and some drywall's open. The next floor, drywall's closed up. The next floor above that, they're doing some of the painting and finishes. So you could have 5 different floors where you're seeing a different level of interior completion. So that's one of our interesting projects that's going on now. My role at the company, it's a smaller company, so I wear a lot of different hats. I'm primarily in charge of all of our lending, existing relationships, analyzing when our debt service comes up, how to restructure it with the rates, new financing on construction, and refinancing on payoffs as far as we had a number of CMBS loans that were coming due that we decided to pay off and refinance. The accounting side that I work on at the company is not as exciting, so I won't bore you with that, but just know that we have a lot of partners that we have investor reporting to do. Year-end reporting cycles, it's a little bit time consuming, but it's a requirement to have partners lending you money. The asset management side is more exciting. That includes the property management division as well, and that's 1.2 million square feet that we manage right now. We have sub-regional managers on each one of the different locations. We're in North Florida, East, West Florida, and South Florida. Biggest concentration in South Florida. That's where I spend a lot of my time. We also specialize in GSA leasing. So we get, GSA government tenants, different tenants want to put out a bid and our request for a bid. They put out a lease saying they want to be in this area, this size building, these requirements. We go after that. We're secure land. We're develop a building for them, and the end result is usually a 10 or 15-year lease with the government, who is the highest credit tenant you could have if you're going for financing. So that kind of describes what takes up most of my time. One of the deals I wanted to talk to you about today is one that's currently going on, because I was trying to find out something that would be applicable to you guys, trying to figure out what maybe would help you. And when you're doing a real estate transaction, whether it's a purchase, sale, acquisition, and development, however you want to put it together, there's a couple key things that you want to do. So the deal that I'm going to talk to you about involves a sale, an acquisition, and development. I can start with, we're selling right now a shopping center in DeLand, 82,000 square feet, 70% occupied, just refinanced and paid off CMBS debt. It's selling for $575 under contract right now. And what we wanted to do there was maximize value, maximize sales price, minimize taxes paid. How do you do that? Well, the maximizing the value on that deal, it's a shopping center again, 18 tenants. So over the past year and a half, any of the improvements that we were making at the property, instead of doing normal repairs, we were doing capital improvements. What that does is it doesn't affect your net operating income, which is a value generator. So we're putting in money, knowing that we're going to get the money back if it's listed and a buyer is willing to pay that. There's a lot of ifs, but it's a much safer route. With that, we did, we redid the roof and we redid the air conditioning systems there. So that was a capital improvement, didn't affect NOI, tenants are happy, properties new, with leases, and new property equipment and new warranties. So put it on the market. Within a month of it being on the market, we got 5 bids. We went with our highest qualified bidder, and it's under contract with 45 days left on their contingency period. So how do you minimize tax once now you've sold it, you've put in money, you've increased your basis? Well, we're going to do a 1031 exchange. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it's not a way to completely avoid paying taxes. The government always wants you to pay your taxes, but it's a way to defer your taxes. What I mean by that, instead of writing, on this deal specifically, you'd be writing $1 million check to the IRS just to pay for recaptured depreciation and gain over the period. So to defer that, we've identified another property. What makes this deal a little bit complicated is we've identified it and we closed on it prior to the sale of the shopping center. So it's a reverse 1031. But by doing so, we're going to defer paying $1 million in taxes, which is more important because now you're going and investing that money in a property that's returning you income immediately. So you write a check now and then you go buy a property, you're going to end up being out both sides as opposed to deferring the tax and getting the cash flow. So that's nice. Where the struggles are is this is actually not Marlins Park, it's right across the street. This was a land acquisition. And so land acquisitions, you're going to find out in this program, is kind of a double-edged sword. It's where you have the most opportunity to make the most money because you're doing development, but it's also the most risk because depending on what's moving in there and how you're going to generate income is going to create the most risk on your property. So we put this property, it's an acre and a half, and it was $1.5 million to purchase. And we put a deposit down contingent upon getting this government lease awarded to us. The way the government leasing process works in a nutshell is they have different agencies that submit requests out, either a new area, a relocation, a new building. This one specifically for immigrations and custom enforcement. They wanted to be on Miami River, they wanted to have a boat slip, they wanted to be able to have a secure building. So we went in, found this site, submitted the bid, got awarded the bid. It's $1.5 million on the land, it's $2.5 million roughly on our completed construction for them. So all in, it's a $4 million acquisition and development. Where you go in and say, well, that's a lot of risk, where's your value? The lease that's awarded to you is 15 years, firm term, which means you're guaranteed the lease money, whether they leave or not. And it's $60 a foot gross. So you assume in a gross deal that you're assuming that the tenant is just going to pay, it's just like paying rent at an apartment. You're paying one fee, and then the landlord takes care of your insurance and your taxes and everything on the property itself. What we look at is now we're getting rid of this shopping center in DeLand, which is next to Stetson, but now we're getting rid of 18 tenants, getting rid of a very encumbering process with our overhead. It takes a lot of accounting and different reporting and property management to service a property like that. And now we get one tenant, the highest credit you can ask for, 15 years firm term, no more lease, renewals, no more commissions paid out. I mean, you're paying one big commission, but we did that leasing ourselves because that's a process that we have. And so when you look at value creation, that value all in with the land and development is $4 million. When you take the lease that's going to be in place with the government and you capitalize it, I don't know at what point you are, but the capitalization rate is a way to show value with different properties on their income. It's a $6 million property if you just wanted to flip it and sell it. So you've just created $2 million by being able to tie up the land, get a lease awarded to you, and now you add on top of the $2 million in value creation, you have tax deferral. So now you're, instead of paying that tax, you're going and investing it in. So that's where we're at. Some of the challenges there with the 1031, you have 180 days on a reverse 1031, which means we have our clock started ticking 2 weeks ago to get all of our bids out for our construction, complete the construction, be able to order as much materials as possible in 180 days, which is 6 months to complete this job. So it's a very time-constrained process. I was working this morning, but that's part of why when these deals come up, it makes a lot of sense. But you have certain parameters you have to work inside.
What happens? What do you have to complete at 180 days? Is it FBCO?
It has it's with the reverse 1031. When we bought the land and was awarded the lease, our clock started ticking 180 days. Typically, if you were just buying an operating property, it'd be 180 days to close. In this case, because we've already purchased the land and we're doing development, it's 180 days, and at that point, whatever you've spent to date is all that qualifies to go in. So the strategy right now is like, I met with our construction team. If they can't get it done, we're basically going to buy out contracts or front load material, whatever we can do that will get us in the best position possible. Because at that point, it's not like we lose it, it just gets cut off. So if we're only $1 million in, then we only get to defer that much of the tax, and we still have to then pay it. The other challenge is the land plaza sale is contingent upon them receiving financing. And so they could always end that deal if that's not the case. I don't think that would happen at this point. They've already gone hard on their deposit, which just means after a 15-day inspection period, they've committed a certain dollar amount, and after that point they lose it if they don't go forward with the deal. So what I just wanted to show you some of the orientations of the sites. I can close that. But if you look, so this is the mouth of the Miami River as it comes through, and this is the Miami River site here that we are developing. There's an old existing warehouse on it. Does this work? Yeah. An old existing warehouse that we're leveling, and it's going to be this whole parcel, and it fronts into this boat slip. And that's, again, Immigration's Customs Enforcement wanted to have that access to the water. They want to, they do border protection as well, so they want to be able to go out in Miami and catch bad guys, if you want to call it that, and then bring them back and put them in their warehouse. And then with some of their facility stuff, they require much more stringent security, development codes, materials, everything. The other center that's in the land, I have the address here.
You had to win an RFP for that, correct?
Yes.
What's the size of the parcel?
This one?
Yes.
Or the?
On the Miami River.
And it's 1.6 acres.
The RFP was to develop the land?
No, the government will issue on fedbiz.com, based on each agency, will issue requirements. And a lot of them already exist in this market, but they might want a relocation based on, this one was a relocation. They have an existing, one of our office buildings that they actually occupy is a 98,000 square foot office building. And one of the bids that was submitted was they needed a 8,000 to 10,000 square foot building on the Miami River with a boat slip. So it helps that we already had them as an existing tenant, and when we came to them with this proposal, you know, they were very accommodating with, you know, let's move forward. You know, we like the location. It meets all of our parameters. So this was the, yes, Planet Fitness is one of our tenants. But you have Stetson University here, and then this is the shopping center here. It's inclusive of all this. There's 2 available out parcels that we're selling with it, and then you know you have Planet Fitness, Family Dollar, Little Caesars, and then there's a couple of state leases in there as well. Not that sexy of a deal, but you know it's been in our portfolio for 15 years. It's generated income, and the main reason we're selling it is because it's again it's a lot of work to service 18 tenants and constantly do the lease renewals and go through that process. So that's really the main deal I wanted to walk you through and kind of go over it. You know, I had some of the notes there, but you're, with the land and the development of a GSA deal, you're creating, it's actually $2.5 million in value creation. With the tax deferral, you're saving $1.2 million in tax deferrals, and you're actually improving your cash flow stream $102,000 a year. So that was really kind of the essence of what you want to do if you were going through a deal, is to minimize risk, pick up a quality tenant, and increase value. So any questions on that, or any of our properties? I mean, that's,
with GSA being a tenant of yours and other properties, did the RFP come out, or did you have any knowledge the RFP was coming out ahead of time, or did you kind of?
We don't get anything ahead of time, but we are one of the first people to hear about it, because in I'll show you the assets that I oversee every day is, if you're familiar, with the Dolphin Mall here, right off the turnpike. So we have, these are our buildings. This IKEA that was just built 2 years ago, we sold them this land. It's 15 acres. And we own and developed the Kaiser University, which is just north of that. And then we have these 5 buildings here. Care Plus is in this one, and then we have University of Phoenix, University of St. Augustine. And then we have any of you guys think Gold Coast classes? We own this Gold Coast building next to it. We own the, this is like a seizure warehouse for the government, and some other warehouse next to that. This is Homeland Security, and this is a number of government tenants all in one building. So with this portfolio here, that's where we spend a lot of our time. And then the site that some of you are familiar with is this entire area here from 14th to 17th Street. This is where we're slated for future retail development. This is the hotel, the 240-room hotel that we're developing now. It looks a lot more complete in the actual pictures than this one. This was, I think, the foundation that was put up. So that's where we spend a lot of our time.
Is there any plan to buy out that little parcel?
Yeah, that's what I asked them.
That was always just a pain in our side, it felt like.
If I was not recorded, I could tell you the plans for the little parcel. But the owner there is it's not, we do not own that. We own everything else in that block, and that owner is very happy with their location at the time. And we've offered some different prices and declined.
So one of the things that you brought up that is going to be covered in the real estate investments course is the the choice that you have as a property owner to, in some cases, declare something either as repairs and maintenance versus capital expenditures. And you talked about that a little bit from the standpoint of you know, effectively classifying it as capital expenditure to avoid it coming out of the NOI. Could you just maybe give a little bit of discussion as to kind of the different sort of motivations that you might have for other than that of tending to classify something as repair and maintenance versus capital expenditure?
Yeah, I think it goes in the accounting course a little bit more, but we can use like an HVAC system for an example. It's like a 15-year property. It's categorized as 15-year property. So if you went and bought a $10,000 unit and you put it on your building, you're going to be able to put that as a capital expenditure. It shows up below your line of NOI. NOI is your criteria that defines how well and the value of your property, like how it compares to other properties and how much value is there. So when you buy this $10,000 air conditioning unit, it goes below the line as a capital expenditure. It shows that you've now invested into your property. You get a new 10-year warranty on the part or whatever warranty that servicer has, and you now above the line when you look at what expenses are occurring, you know, day to day over the course of the year. You might have gone in and repaired that unit on site maybe 5 or 6 times. Maybe you spent $1,000 each time. You're at, you know, half the value of that machine every time you've serviced it. And that, for example, when you spend $1 above the line on a repair or an expense like that, it's decreasing your value of your property by $12 for every. In this instance, it's decreasing it by $12. If you have a more Class A property, it can decrease it up to $15 to $20 for every dollar that you're, you know, spending in a repair on your property, and that goes back to that capitalization rate of, you know, what every dollar of income's worth. So you want to keep that as high as possible, especially if you're going into a sale. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense to usually repair, because once some of the different requirements with air conditioning units, you know, you're only allowed to depreciate them over 15 years. So if the thing has been there for 10 years, you're not getting any depreciation value from a tax perspective, and you're not getting any value from an income perspective, because you're now putting more dollars into repairs and reducing your income. So that's kind of how we went at it. Yeah.
Is it typical of government tenants to pay gross rent?
All of our government tenants pay gross. Yeah.
No triple.
There's no government tenant that I've ever come across that pays triple net. The only thing they do is they pay real estate taxes above a base year. That's one of the biggest. I mean, you look at any income statement of a property, you know, your biggest line items are real estate taxes and insurance. And so we will put in the leases, you know, if real estate taxes at the date, you know, you've moved in are $400,000, then you're going to pay above that, just so that we don't continue to eat costs, you know, because their rents are already set. You know, it's just based on inflation, but sometimes real estate taxes increase more than inflation. So, anything else? Nothing. That's all I got. Unless, yeah.
Thank you.
And I brought these little zip drives, even though everyone has Dropbox above base year real estate tax. Okay, so they're only above that. Right. But everything else is gross. It's like $30 you can build in. Right. They do equity into some of the deals. So if I can continue to get equity into deals, I'll stay there as long as possible. Right, and they can do that with kind of being private. If you're public, you have like stock options. But if I get a little bit sick,
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Whitfield. Just want to welcome all the students and the faculty and fellow alumni. I work for Men in Development in Delray Beach, Florida. We're primarily a retail developer. I graduated from, I was one of the first in the NOVA program in 2007, graduated in 08. And actually I started in the NOVA program about the exact same time I started in the development business. So it actually helped me kind of get up to speed. As I was learning a development business, I kind of had, the NOVA program was kind of like my assistant in a way, just really trying to I got up to speed a lot quicker and I was able to kind of speak intelligently with the people that I was working with. Before that, I started in the development business in 2007. Before that, for 5 or 6 years, I was on the finance side doing commercial lending. And you know, my current role today, I'm a vice president of development. Similar to Alex's company, we run a pretty lean shop, so I'm really kind of involved in everything: leasing, construction, property management, whatever you really need to. You just kind of get in there and do it. Acquisitions, etc. So you know, my main focus is development, construction, and acquisitions. I'll tell you about a project. It was actually the first project I ever worked on in 07. And took us about 7 years to finish it. And it was a major learning experience, but it taught me about persistence and creativity. And really taught me hard work. So I'll tell you about that project. Just real quick, right now my company owns 7 properties in South Florida, mostly retail. We own a large power center up in St. Lucie West, Florida. We own another retail center in Palm Beach Gardens on PJ Boulevard. We own a theater that we're getting ready to redevelop out in West Palm. We actually just moved our headquarters to Delray Beach from Palm Beach, and we bought 3 buildings in Delray Beach, looking to redevelop those, and then bought a single tenant building in Boca. This is just a power center that we finished redeveloping. We're close to finishing redeveloping in St. Lucie West. It was a Publix anchored center, very successful, and then we had a dead Sears that went dark. And so we knocked down most of the Sears, and we're able to build a 2-story LA Fitness. We built backfilled the rest of the Sears with Burlington. We just knocked down some vacant inline space, and this Home Goods just opened about 3 weeks ago. And then we're developing all these out parcels that are under construction right now. This is another center we own in Palm Beach Gardens, a major redevelopment we just finished last year. Trader Joe's, Ulta, and a bunch of kind of up-and-coming tenants on the east end, or the west end, I should say. Just a couple pictures. This is just a couple properties we own on Atlantic Avenue. we're getting ready to redevelop. This building just got approved in City Commission, and we're in the process of redeveloping it. So this brings us to our case study. The project's called Magnolia Park in Greenville, South Carolina. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with Greenville. I was not when I started. We bought it in 2007. It was a former Greenville Mall, which is the dominant mall in the area. A new mall was built like 2 miles away, took all the anchors, and the mall went dead. 60-acre project right at the corner of 2 interstates. This particular, Greenville, South Carolina, has really just recently kind of gotten on the map. It's the headquarters of BMW as their headquarters there, North American headquarters, Michelin, Microsoft has a campus there, Lockheed Martin, and GE. It kind of flies under the radar, but it's really starting to get national recognition. They also have a very successful downtown, which has really come alive.